Hello, my name's Dave Jarman and I've been the lead educator on this Innovation and Enterprise course. So at the end of each week, or rather just after the end of each week of the programme, we will shoot a short video like this just to discuss some of the things that you've been discussing during this week on the course. And we have been absolutely bowled over by the number of people commenting and some of the real good insight that people have offered up. So we've had some candid reflections, we've had some great examples of historic innovations, and lots of really good questions for us to get into. So that's what we're going to try and do just in the next couple of minutes. So I really want to firstly welcome everybody to the course. It's great to have you with us. We've got people from as far away as Afghanistan, Colombia, Australia, Tanzania, lots and lots of people studying at the University of Bristol, and that's great. Everybody is entirely welcome, whether you're studying here at the University of Bristol or whether you're much further afield just pursuing something that's interesting to you. You are all more than welcome to join us, and do talk to each other. You will learn as much from each other on the course as you do from those of us kind of educating and mentoring you through the process. So firstly, the camera discussion, that was really good, and I really recommend people go and have a dig through what people reflected on as a result of that video about the camera. Innovation is nothing like as linear as you'd think and sometimes hope. There is a huge question about, do we know what we're doing as we're innovating? You know, we don't necessarily know what the future looks like. We don't know how things are going to change. We don't know if the things that we innovate to solve a problem today are going to cause a problem tomorrow. Some of that discussion about problems you will also come again into in week 2. And some of that discussion about the future you'll come to again in week 3. The role of luck has already come up, and again that's something that we'll pick up in a big way in week 3. Clearly the examples about Kodak got a lot of people thinking, and a lot of people referenced the Nokia story as well. I can't recommend going and doing some research into Nokia enough. A really good example of a company innovating up to a certain point, missing something, but for very legitimate reasons. Same as Kodak, that they weren't being stupid by making the decisions that they made. We can only attribute that with a bit of hindsight. At the time, they made very sensible decisions, but they lost out. And that gets us into the timeline. So something that lots of people noted was that fundamentally the timeline is not just about technology. And innovation is not just about new tech. It's also about social movements. It's about ideas changing human and societal behaviour. So a colleague of mine here at the Centre for Innovation talks a lot about innovation through practice. And a practice has lots of different elements. And that's partly new technology and new materials allow us to do new things. It's partly new know-how, new knowledge allows us to do new things. And it's partly attitudes change, society changes. Things that were not allowed become allowed, things that were allowed become frowned upon. And all of that changes how innovation takes place. Or just imagine if a population suddenly had more disposable income or less, or suddenly they had more free time or less. Those things are going to have a real marked impact on actually the products and services they're using and how they're using those products and services. So innovation comes from lots and lots of different places. I really would encourage anyone who's not had a look through some of the discussion on the timeline section to go back and have a look, because all week there's been some fantastic insights and some really, really good examples. I simply can't name all the people who've contributed good stuff. We've pinned some stuff to the top of the list, but there's good stuff all the way through. Can't recommend it enough. Then we get to the Museum of Curiosity. Again, thank you to all of you who've at least started that process. Do keep working on them. They're not meant to be just done once and then abandoned for all time. It's really encouraging this habit of note-taking. Keeping the ideas that inspire you, putting those together, seeing how those spare parts come together. That bit about spare parts and scrapyards, again, is something that we'll come back to a lot in week 3. We're going to talk a bit about luck there and how good your scrapyard is. how good your collection of notes and ideas is will become really important at that stage. The case studies. So a few people picked out this idea that, well, they weren't all doing stuff in their degree fields. No, absolutely not. And that's why what you do as a degree shouldn't limit you. Actually, you've got interests, you've got experiences, you've got resources that go well beyond what you do on a degree program, either right on a degree right now or one that you've done in the past. Think about, what it is that interests you, and actually that is a great grounding for innovations that you come up with. We are the product of lots of different types of experience. We are very rarely just good at one thing. It's those few things that we're good at, attached to the experiences that we have, attached to the things that interest us, attached to the passions, attached to the resources that we can lay access to. All of these things set up the way that we innovate. So don't get hung up on the fact that you're only allowed to innovate in a certain area. Again, it's this bit about putting these different spare parts and insights together to create something that might appear silly, but is new and innovative. Perceptions of innovators. So I really want to pick up. So Peter, Brittany, Valentia, Ireland, Keith, Beatrice, amongst others, all picked out this idea that actually the key thing that innovators tend to do is take action. That we all have these insights, we all spot ideas and opportunities, we all think that this might be the next big thing, but we don't always take action on that. And the one thing that actually innovators historically seem to have done is they've taken action. They've been able to go, well, if I do something, something happens, rather than wait for somebody else. And then a load of you picked up on the idea of tolerating failure being a key habit as well. And I think those two go hand in hand. That unless you're willing to tolerate failure, you might not take action because you won't want to fail. But taking action means fundamentally that something's always going to go wrong. However well planned, however well organised you are, failure is still likely to happen at some stage. So actually taking action and tolerating failure are part of the same process. If you can embrace that process, if you can embrace this idea of failing forward or failing fast, but as a means to learn something, as a means to put your ideas into action and try them out, I think that's a great innovative habit to get into. Some really good reflections on your innovation profiles as well. Lots of good reflections on creative habits. Thanks for some really candid reflections on note-taking and failure. One quick point about note-taking is it is a pretty critical habit. We do it. I'm reading from my own notes now, just as point of proof. But you have to find a habit that works for you. Not everybody takes notes in the same way. Some people like writing lots of stuff down. Some people find it easier to talk into a dictaphone or to even kind of record messages for themselves on their phone by video. Find a method that works for you. It's lots of you were saying you're going to take up a note-taking habit. Good. You might find that the first way you try and do it doesn't work. But keep trying. Find a method that allows you to record the best insights that you have. And actually, this comes back to a bigger discussion about habits around innovation. Lots of people talked about innovation and innovators as being people who work hard. Yes, some of you also said that they get lucky. Yes, it's both. That actually you have to set yourself up to be lucky, but you also have to work hard, because when you spot those opportunities, those lucky opportunities, you still have to go and exploit them. You still have to make them happen. And a lot of this tracks back to, okay, so if it is hard work, do we all work equally hard all of the time? No. And I don't think it's true that some people are hard workers and some people aren't. I think it's that we all work hard when we find the thing that actually motivates us. And it is often the case that people don't find anything early in life that sufficiently motivates them to work hard. If you can find something that you are genuinely passionate about, and that could be tech, it could be a subject area, it could be a social cause, it could be a place, it could be a group of people. If you can find the thing that you genuinely care about and that genuinely motivates you, that's when you're going to do your best work. That's when you're going to work hard. So a lot of this discussion about innovation really does track back to you and your passions. So yeah, tech, high tech, brilliant insights, scientific breakthroughs, all interesting, brilliant. But it's also about you and the things that interest you. That's what's going to set you up as a good innovator. Just one final mention. So right at the end, in looking at the case studies and their views on creative habits, Leanne put together a great summary of some of the creative habits that people were using very successfully. So we posted it, we pinned it to the top of the list. Do go back and have a look. Whilst in a way we're not necessarily going to be talking about week 1 for too much longer, inevitably more and more people will be piling into the course over the next couple of weeks. So go back and see what they're saying. There's some really, really good stuff being said. So at this stage, we're moving on from talking about the innovators themselves to how do you solve problems, both big and small. And then we're going to talk about luck, and then we're going to talk about acting on your idea. Good luck with the rest of the program. You'll see me pop up again in a week's time to talk about what you've been talking about. But keep the discussion going. It's been brilliant so far, and I wish you all the best of luck as you go forward. Cheers.